Exodus chapter 39. ومنها كلت وهارغامان وطلعت هشاني عاشوا بقذي شراد لشرت بقودش. And from the blue and the purple and the worm of the scarlet he effectuated garments of braided work to serve in the holiness, in the holy place. ויעשו את בגדי הקודש אתר לאהרון, כאתר צוואיה ואת משה. And he effectuated the garments of the holiness which are for Aaron, like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. ויעש את האפוד, and he effectuated the ephod. זהב תכלת והרגמן ותולעת shani ושת מושזר. Blue and purple and worm of scarlet, gold, blue and purple and worm of scarlet, and fine twined linen. וירקעו את פחי הזהב, and he beat out the plates of the gold. וקיצץ פתילים, and he cut off cords or wires. לעשות בתוך התכלת ובתוך הארגמן ובתוך תולעת השני ובתוך השש, to effectuate in the midst of the blue and in the midst of the purple and in the midst of the worm of the scarlet and in the midst of the linen. Ma'aseh Hoshev, a work of a designer. Kethepot Ashulo Hoverot, shoulders he effectuated for it, joined. Al-Thane Qasotau Hubbar, upon the two of its ends they were joined. It was joined. وحشب أفوداتو أطرعالو ممنه كمعشه ذهب تخلت وهرغمان وطلعت شاني وشيش مشزار. And the design about of its ephod, or of his ephod, which was upon it. From it was, like its work, gold and blue and purple and worm of scarlet and fine twined linen. Moshe, like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. ויעשו את אבני השוהם מוסבות משבצות זהב, and he effectuated the stones of the shoham, the onyx stones, surrounded of settings of gold. Mufutahot pituhehotam, engraved things of the engravings of a signet ring. Al Shemot b'nei Yisrael, according to the names of the sons of Yisrael. Vayashemotam, and he set them, Alakitapod the high ephod, upon the shoulders of the ephod, Avane the Karon, Livene Yisrael, stones of a memorial for the sons of Yisrael. Katareth Yahweh et Moshe, like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. Vayasha et hahoshen ma'ashe hosheb, k'ma'ashe pod, and he effectuated the breastplate, a work of a designer, like the work of the ephod. ذهبت خلت وهرقامان وطلعت شاني وشيش مشزار. Gold and blue and purple and worm of scarlet, and linen, fine linen twined or twisted. Rabu ahaya kaful ashu et hahoshen. Foursquare it was, doubled, he effectuated the breastplate. Zeret orko wazeret rohabo kapul, a span its length and a span its breadth, doubled. Wayamalahu, wayamalahu lo, wayamalahu vo, arba'atu rehaben, and they filled in it 4 rows of stone. Tur odem pitada wavarqat raqat wavarqat hatur had, a row of an odem, which is thought to be a ruby, a pitada of topaz, and a baraqat, a carbuncle or emerald. The first row, wahatur hatheni, and the second row, nopek sapir uyahalom, a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. Wahatur hathalithi, and the third row, leshem shavo wahalama, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. Wahatur harbi'i, and the fourth row, tarshish shoham uyoshape uyashape, and the fourth row, a tarshish, could be chrysolite, and an onyx, and a jasper. Musabot mishbethot dahab b'miluotam, ones set in settings of gold in their settings. Wahabanim al shemot b'nei Yisrael hemna thete eshere al shemotam, and the stones were according to the names of the sons of Yisrael. They were 12 according to their names. Pitu hehotam isha al shemo lithanem ashar shavat. Engravings of a signet, each according to its name for the 12 tribes. ويعشوا على حوشن شرشروت قبلوت مع عبوت ذهب tahor, and they effectuated upon the breastplate chains of twisting, a work of cords, clean gold. ويعشوا ثتي مشبثوت ذهب, and they effectuated 2 settings of gold, وثتي طبعوت ذهب, and 2 rings of gold. ويتنوا الثتي طبعوت, and they gave the 2 rings على الثني قشوت هاشن, upon the 2 ends of the breastplate. ويتنوا ثتيها عبوت هذهب, and they gave the 2 of the cords of the gold. على ثتيها طبعوت, upon the 2 of the rings, the 2 rings. على قشوت هاشن, upon the ends of the breastplate. with ثتي قشوت ثتيها عبوتوت ناتنو على ثتي همش بثوت, and the 2 ends of the 2 cords they gave upon the 2 settings. ويتنوم على كتفوت هايفود Elamul Parnau, and they gave them upon the shoulders of the ephod, to the front of its faces. ويعشوا ثتي طبعوت ذهب, and they effectuated 2 rings of gold. ويشيموا على ثني قشوت هاشن, and they set upon the 2 ends of the breastplate, على شفاته, upon its edge, its lip, أطر العبر هايفود بايته, which is to the side of the ephod toward the house, which means toward the inside. ويعشوا ثتي طبعوت ذهب, and they effectuated 2 rings of gold. ويتنوم على ثتي كثفوت هايفود ملمتا ممول بانايو لعمت محبرته, and they gave them upon the 2 shoulders of the ephod from underneath, from the front of its faces, up against or corresponding to its coupling or joining. Mimmal lehesheb haephod, from over the designer belt of the ephod. ويركسوا اتهاشن متابعوتاو التابعوت هايفود بفتيل تخلت لهيوت على حشب هايفود, and they bound the breastplate from its rings to the rings of the ephod by means of a blue line or thread, for being upon the designer belt of the ephod. ולא יהיה החושן מעל האפוד. And the breastplate shall not displace from over the ephod. כאתר ציווה Yahweh את Moshe, like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. We could translate it, and the breastplate was not being displaced from over the ephod, like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. ויעש את מעיל האפוד, and he effectuated the robe of the ephod, מעשה הורג, a work of a weaver, כליל תכלת, all completely of blue. وفي המעיל בתוכו כפי טהרה, and the mouth of the robe in its midst, like the mouth of a corselet. שפה לפיו סביב לא יקרע, a lip for the mouth, for its mouth, round about, that it should not tear, that it should not be torn. ויעשו על שולי המעיל רימוני תכלת והרגמן ותולעת שני מושזר. And they effectuated upon the skirt or margin of the robe pomegranates of blue and purple and worm of scarlet twined. ויעשו פעמוני זהב טהור, and they effectuated bells of gold, clean gold. ויתנו את הפעמונים בתוך הרימונים על שולי המעיל סביב בתוך הרימונים. And they gave the golden bells, they gave the bells in the midst of the pomegranates, upon the margins of the robe, round about, in the midst of the pomegranates, or between the pomegranates. Pa'amon w'rimon, pa'amon w'rimon. A bell and a pomegranate, a bell and a pomegranate. Alashu leham el sabib, upon the margins of the robe round about, the sharet kater Yahweh et Moshe, to serve like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. Vayashu et hakat et hakotenot shesh. Ma'ashe horeg laharon ulabanav, and they effectuated the tunics or coats of fine linen, a work of a weaver for Aharon and for his sons. And the turban of fine linen, and the headdresses of, or dome caps of the headgear or turbans of fine linen, with the miknese habad shesh moshazar, and the breeches of the plain linen fine twined linen. Wetahabanet Sheshemoshazar, and the belt, fine twined linen. Utechelet waharaga mana watolat shani masherokem, and blue and purple and worm of scarlet, a work of an embroider or one mixing colors. Kahatarasiwaya et Moshe, like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. Wayashu et Sisa Nezer HaKodesh Dahab Tahor, and they effectuated the floral, the ornaments of the crown of the holiness, clean gold. Wayachatabu Alai Miktab Pitu He Hotam Kodesh Kodesh Yahweh, and they wrote upon it a writing, engravings of a signet, holiness to Yahweh. Wayetanu Alai Patil Techelet Lathet Alham Misanefet Milama'ala, and they gave upon it a lace or cord or thread of blue to give upon the mitre from above. Milama'ala, from above. Katarasiwa Yahweh et Moshe, like what Yahweh commanded Moshe. What tekel kol avodat mishkan ohel moed, and he finished all the service or the work of the tabernacle of the tent of appointment. Vayashu b'nei Yisrael kekol atarasiwa Yahweh et Moshe kena'ashu, and they effectuated, the sons of Yisrael effectuated like all which Yahweh commanded Moshe. Thus they did. Vayavihu et hamishkan et el Moshe et haohel et kol kelau, and they brought the tabernacle to Moshe, the tent and all its things. Qarasai qarashai berihai wa'amudai wahdanai, its hooks and its boards, its bars and its pillars, and its sockets. With the mikaseh orot haelim hamudamim, and the covering of skins of rams, skins of the rams, the ones dyed red. The skins dyed red. We'et the mikaseh orot hatahashim, and the covering of tahash skins. With the parok the hamasak, and the veil of the screen. Et the haron ha'edut, we'et the badai, we'et the hakaporet, the ark of the testimony and its poles, its staves, that is, and the atonement cover. Et the hashulahan, et the kol kelau, et the lechem hapanim, the table and all its things, and the bread of the faces, that is, the bread of the presence or show bread, Et ha-menorah ha-tahorah, the clean menorah, or lampstand. Et nerotaha, its lamps. Nerotaha ma'araka, lamps set in order. Lamps of the arrangement. With the kolakelaha, and all its things. With the shemen hamaor, and the oil of the light. With the midbahadahab, and the altar of the gold. With the shemen hamishah, and the oil of the anointing. With the qitoret hasamim, and the incense of the spices. With the masak petah, and the screen of the door of the tent. Et the midbahan hoshet, the altar of the bronze or copper material, copper metal. Where et the mikbarahan hoshet ataralo, and the grating of the bronze which is for it. Et the badau, where et the kolkelau, its staves and all its things. Et the hakior, where et the kano, its laver, the laver, and its base. Et the qala haser, et the amudaha, where et the hadanaha, where et the hamasak lethar haser. Et the metarau, wiyetedotaha. The hangings of the court, and its pillars, and its sockets, and the screen for the gate of the court, its cords, and its pins. وَهَتَ كُلَّ كَلَيْ عَبُودَتْ هَمِّشْكَانَ لَأُهْلَ مُوعِدْ, and all the things or vessels, instruments of the service of the tabernacle, for the tent of appointment. At the bigger the hasharad, l'sharet bakodesh, the garments of the braided work to serve in the holiness, the holy place. At the bigger the hakodesh la'aharon hakohen, at the bigger the vanau l'kahen, the garments of the holiness for Aharon the priest, and the garments of his sons to priest. Kekol atarthiwa Yahweh et Moshe, like all which Yahweh commanded Moshe, Kena ashu b'nei Yisrael, et kol ha'avodah. Thus the sons of Yisrael effectuated all the service, all the work. Vayar Moshe et kol hamalahaka, and Moshe saw all the work. V'hinei ashuotah, and behold, they had effectuated it. Ka'atarthuwa Yahweh kena ashu, like what Yahweh had commanded, thus they had effectuated. Vayavarakahotam Moshe, and Moshe blessed them.